Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are at 2:30 and we are going to give everyone a couple minutes to jump on. Thank you guys for joining us. I see some repeats here. Glad to see you again. Thank you for joining us for another week of our modern workforce training, Hustle Smarter. We're going to talk about your skills and how you can use them to your advantage. Again, we're going to give everybody a minute. And so we'll get started right at 2:33. Thank you. Hi there. Thank you. So yeah, if you are here and you want to put your name in the chat because the chat is working today, guys, let's go. You can go ahead and do that as well. We would love to be able to engage with you that way. Yeah, so we're excited about this week. We're excited to talk about skills. And as we, again, give people another minute to jump on, last week we kind of went through some scenarios and we'll do the same this week. You know, it kind of helps you tap into this decision-making power that you have that you can apply not just in your daily life, but also at work, you know, and so you be able to take what you heard, what you learned, and what you experienced with us and be able to apply it in real time. And so since we're at 2:33, we're going to get started. This is always recorded, and you can always reach out to us at info at Talent Nova so that if you have any questions, we are happy to answer them so much. Next slide. Yeah, so this week we're going to talk about these skills that we have. A lot of us have skills that we haven't yet tapped into, and skills that some can be perceived as unuseful, and some are skills that we didn't know that we possessed, and we acquired them from our lived experience. And so when we begin to understand our skills, we can understand how they transfer. And so what are transferable skills? I'm so happy that you guys asked. Transferable skills help enhance your professional value and really ease your transitions. That means that these strengths enable you to adapt and excel across various environments, from personal projects to corporate settings. Identifying them is going to help empower your career and your growth. And so while we look at our resumes, we have things that we put up there, but these transferable skills are things that they're not always top of mind, you know, but they are actively and very important. So the first one is leadership, right? Effective leadership inspires others and drives team success. Leadership is not predicated on the title. And I want to repeat that. Like, a leader doesn't mean that you have a title that specifies you're a leader, but you lead in whatever lane that you're in. You lead in your position, right? Your level of success is determined how well you show up as your whole self in the workplace. And that's how you lead. And so whether you are in communications or in marketing, or you're working in retail or in hospitality, whatever role you're in, from the cashier all the way up to the co-manager, like, you lead in that lane. The next one that's transferable is communication. Clear communication really fosters collaboration and strengthens relationships. We talked last week on how we interact and exchange with people. We also talked about your body language, like somebody showing up in the room and saying hello, and you're asking them how they feel, but they have their arms crossed, right? And so we learned last week that we are bilingual. We have to speak body language and English. So we need to understand the verbal cues and the nonverbal cues in the workplace. And so communication is that whole package. And when you understand how to communicate, it's going to help you foster collaboration, especially when you are interacting with the team or in a customer facing role. The third transferable skill, which I think is really important, is problem solving. Critical problem solving maintains productivity and navigates challenges efficiently. So when you think about problem solving, it doesn't mean that you're showing up and you may be solving something like that's huge or gigantic. It could be a problem that you solved on your own. For those of us who've been impacted, like myself, like, I had to solve problems while I was serving time, you know, and everything. And this may be a really bad example, but I'm going to give you guys the example. We wanted to make a cheesecake. Everybody wanted cheesecake, but we didn't know how. So we used the graham crackers and crushed them up. We used the cream cheese. We stir them up in the frying pan, and we blanketed the bowl with the crushed up graham crackers, put the cream cheese on top of it, and then put some more graham crackers on top. Some of you that understand that may understand that process because, a lot of people begin to do it. But we were able to solve a problem collectively by coming up with a solution that included both food and a different way that we could process it. And it's the same thing in the workplace. When you solve problems, you come up with a different idea on how you can fix things or how you can bring things to a new phase because it's been stuck. Next slide. Yeah, so those skills in action, right? Sometimes we don't always see them, but transferable skills can shape your success across multiple environments. And by showcasing how you've applied them in real scenarios, you can really demonstrate your value and your adaptability to employers or collaborators. So when you show up and use them, it shows your skill or your value. So while you may not be going to a job actively applying to do event planning, because you have experience organizing something at home or organizing something at a past job or organizing something in a facility, you can add that event planning component to your resume. And what that does is it shows up in a way where it says that you have effective project management and coordination skills. Then that conflict resolution, like you've been able to resolve a dispute. You calm down the kids, right? You calm down a disagreement between you and a sibling, or you calm down a disagreement with two individuals that may have been in the workplace. Again, you're not going to apply for a job as a conflict resolution specialist or as an event planner, but these things show up by what you do on a daily basis, and they become good examples on what employers are looking for when they talk about skills in action. And then that last one is reliability. At my last company, we used to have these three things: show up on time, do what you say you're going to do, and inject positivity. Showing up on time and doing what you say you're going to do kind of leans on reliability. And so what that means is that you have consistent follow through, and follow through is important for commitments, especially for employers. They're looking for people that they can trust, people that are professional, and professional doesn't mean how you dress. Professionalism has to do with what you do in the workplace, but also people they know they can depend on to get the job done. Next slide. So how can you lead without a title? We kind of talked about that when I opened up. Leadership is not about title, it's about influence and setting an example. And so by really adopting these quick habits, you can inspire others, create a positive environment, and really elevate your role without the need for formal recognition, even though we all like to be recognized. I have a friend that says you can't think of thank you. And so everybody wants to hear thank you or that you've done a good job. And when you don't have a title, sometimes you're not always the one recognized, but your word and your work will speak for you, and it can position you for increase or growth inside of your organization. The first thing that you can do to show up is to lead yourself first. And that one is like, I think I need some emojis or something in the room, some reactions, right? Lead yourself first. Be the first to take initiative and responsibility. So while nobody else may do it, you do it first. And that shows that you are leading without a title. Thank you for those applauds. The second one is be calm. We talked about emotional intelligence, right? Maintain your composure in stressful situations to guide others. You set the example. You may not be the manager, but if you show people how to be calm and you lead yourself first, you are setting the example, and you become someone that they can lean on as a level of influence and as a level of questioning if they need some support in the workplace. And that third one is lift others up. Don't be afraid to encourage and support your peers to foster and collaborate, in general. It doesn't take anything away from you to encourage them to be better. Actually, it helps you, because if you can encourage somebody in the workplace to be better and they get better, they'll look back and remember that you showed up. And while you didn't have a title, right, you did possess the character, right? And you did have the influence, and you set the example for what they needed to help them in their career growth. Next slide. Communicating effectively as a leader. And so as we begin to talk about, understanding how you shift your skills and how do you lead with them, how do you communicate what you have? And so you really have to be clear messaging, ask for what you want. Like, so if you showing up in the workplace and you have a project, sometimes people don't understand if you aren't dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And what I mean by that, if you need a report at 5 p.m. on Friday, you need to say, clearly I need that report by 5 p.m. on Friday, because clear messages is going to help you minimize any misunderstandings, and it's going to drive effective action. Tone awareness. You have to make sure you have the right tone, because that builds trust. Have you ever been in a room and somebody was talking real loud, like, "Hey, everybody, what's going on? What you doing?" Or "It's going to be okay," or "Everything's fine." They increased their voice, and you thought to yourself, what is wrong with them, right? And oh, nothing, it's just my way of talking. But in fact, you know that their tone shifted and they were communicating the stress that they were experiencing. So when you are being clear about what you're asking for, check your tone. Make sure that you are communicating in the standard way that you normally do. And then 3, this curiosity component. Engaging others with questions promotes collaboration and deeper connections. What does that mean? That means that when you have a conversation with somebody, there is this diversity of thought, this exchange of conversation, this think tanking that happens, where you have your ideas, I have my ideas, and ideas collectively can shape a new level of understanding. It can shape something innovative inside the workplace. So when you begin to think about communicating more effectively as a leader, start with being clear, start with understanding your tone, and don't be afraid to be curious. Next slide. And while we're talking about this communicating, oftentimes in the workplace, you have to learn how to problem solve. So this is a 3-step formula that you can apply in the workplace. And I'm going to hold you guys to some scenarios so that you can kind of see where you fit in. But in today's fast-paced world, having a structured approach to problem solving, I think, is crucial, because we show up in the workplace, we are faced with these challenges, we try to evaluate solutions and really act confidently to reach effective outcomes, but we don't always have a criteria or a formula that we can use. And Talent Nova built this one specifically for those of you on this call. So number 1, identify the problem, right? Clearly define the issue and ensure you address the right challenge. And what do I mean by that? Sometimes there is an issue and we don't get to the root of it. And if we get to the second tier of it, we can address that tier. But because the root is still there, it begins to continue to fester and grow. So clearly define the issue. So if you are leading in an organization and your counterpart, your peer, or somebody that works under you is showing up late every day, lateness may not be the problem. The problem may be that they don't have transportation to get to the workplace. So really identify the problem. Number 2, weigh your options. Consider some potential solutions and evaluate the pros and cons. You may not be able to fix everything, but there may be a level of influence that you have. There may be a suggestive mechanism that you can share. There may be a support service that you can offer, right? But with those options, it doesn't mean that you're actually providing the full solution, but you may be the one providing the vehicle to the solution as well. And number 3, act with confidence. Implement your chosen solution decisively and monitor the results. Don't show up in the room with your head down saying, I think this can work. Say, you know what? I've identified that Daniel has been coming late for the past 2 weeks. He was never late up until 2 weeks ago. I found out that his car that he had, his reliable transportation, is not available anymore. And so while we can't provide him a car, but we was able to talk to Lyft and provide some passes for him to get rides to and from work until his car is fixed in the shop. I think this is going to work. And so just showing up, right? Identifying the problem, weighing your options, and not being afraid to act with confidence, so that you know that the solution that you're bringing in the room is because you've identified what's happening and you want to provide an effective outcome, and you use this formula to help you reach there. Not only does it help the workplace, but it helps enhance your leadership capabilities. If you can solve a problem, you become a solution. Next slide. So how do you translate those skills effectively? I'm happy you asked. And so really, we want you to craft an impactful resume. If you haven't done your resume yet on the Talent Nova platform, I want to encourage you to go back up there and to jump in on our career journey and build a resume, really to showcase your unique strengths, right, to potential employers. You may have heard something today that you realize you should add to your resume. There's a skill that you have to translate, because remember, we're learning how to hustle smarter, right? We're learning how to use our skills to our advantage. Like a lot of times we show up and we put all this extra effort, but if you just show up as your authentic self and show what you have, that is enough. And so what you have to do to translate your skills effectively is identify those skills. What are they? I'm going to try to engage the chat and see if I can get you guys to jump in. What are some of the skills that you have that you really don't put on your resume? If you want to share one or two of those in the chat, that would be great. And when you're sharing those, I want not only for you to list the skills, I want you to think of them as action verbs, like really starting each statement with a strong action verb to convey impact. And so something like I'm a good communicator, right? I'm able to interact with people of a diverse background, or I have great interpersonal skills, right? I know how to engage crowds from different walks of life, or I'm a problem solver, right? I'm able to come in and to be a solution that individuals need inside the workplace. And so when you think about the skills that you have that you can put on your resume, these are skills that you can actually translate. Did we have one person, Shelby, to post a skill that you have that you don't put in your resume inside the workplace? And if you can't think of one, that's fine. But I want you to take a moment to think about all the things that you're able to do, not just at work, but at home. And sometimes when we sit with ourselves and we begin to think about some of the things that we do, that's naturally, we don't realize that they are effective skills that we can translate. And once you take those skills and you turn them into action verbs on your resume, you can begin to quantify them. And when you quantify them, you can, whenever possible, you can use numbers to illustrate your success. So in the common area, we see ideation and implementation. So I'm able to, when a company has a problem, I'm able to ideate and to shape the structure and the strategy to implement the solution. I've been successful in implementing 2 new plans. And so you take kind of what you have, the skills you have in this bank, you turn them into an action verb, and then you quantify your achievements. And so if you haven't done your resume, I want to encourage you to go back and to begin focusing on translating your practical experiences into clear and concise achievement-oriented statements. Next slide. So how do you know your skill set? And I call this the big 3. And so a lot of times, as I shared in the last slide, we don't know those skills. So I kind of group them in these 3 areas, like work skills. This is what you do on the job. Social skills, how you work with people, and life skills, how you handle life and yourself. When you are crafting an impactful resume statement, you can showcase these unique skills to potential employers and help you stand out in a crowd by highlighting these three skills areas. So work skills means that you can use tools, tech, or machinery, right? You know how to deliver results. You can follow procedures. Like, these are the hard and technical skills that get listed on your resume all the time. Your social skills, which are skills that we don't often think, an organization needs, is that active listening, that reading of body language, that giving and receiving feedback, that conflict resolution, that tone and timing when you speak. These are soft skills, but they're often the reason people get hired and fired. When you are unable to communicate what you need, you often find yourself in a position of stuck. If you aren't able to be a team player, you find yourself, as the lone ranger. And when you can't work with the team when it's necessary, it causes a conflict in the organization. And then life skills, this is really how you handle life and lead yourself. These skills are things like time management, budgeting, handling stress, which is a big one. Can I show up? They have that saying, show up and leave the things that you're experiencing at the door. Do I really need to leave them at the door, or do I have to figure out how to use this emotional intelligence that I have to get my job done and then resolve the problem I'm facing when I leave there? These show that you can lead yourself, which means you're more likely to succeed at work too. And so when an organization knows that you have the skills for the workplace, you get the job done, you have the social skills they need, you can interact with people, and then you can take care of yourself, right? With those life skills. This is the big 3 that organizations look for in the workplace. And if you're able to translate them on your resume and in conversation by turning them into an action verb and adding a quantity of your impact, organizations begin to pay attention. Next slide. So I want you to ask yourself this question. Which of these skills have you used in the last 30 days? I'm going to try to engage the chat again. Work skills I've used, social skills I've used, life skills I've used. Which of these skills have you used in the last 30 days? Have you used the work skill? Have you used the social skill? Have you used the life skill? Have you used all 3? I'm going to say that I had to use a social skill. I'm going to put that in the chat. And I had to use a social skill because I had to have a conversation with someone. And when you think about the skills that you use, efficiency, thank you. When you think about the skills that you use, it's called a skill stack. You use this to build your resume. I've had to use a social skill. I had to communicate, right? I had to solve a problem. I had to analyze a project, right? I had to effectively use my time management. And when I'm stacking these skills in these three pools on top of each other, this becomes my skill stack, and I can take all of these and I can feed them into the Talent Nova resume, and our AI can thoughtfully translate them into the language that you need to update your resume in a way that we may not be able to. Next slide. So after you identify your skills, you translate your skills and define your skill stack, you can build your skills. Let's kind of talk about how you begin to build them. Next slide. So a few ways. So Google has these incredible career tools that you can use if you are here and you want to enhance on some of your skills to help you in the workplace, whether it's communication, project management, collaboration, professional development, and even more hard skills like centered around IT and data analytics. Google has these career tools for free that you can actually use to explore certificates to enhance your skills in today's job market. Now, we're not asking you to run off here right now and go look at Google, but I want you to keep this top of mind. If you're looking for a way to enhance some of the skills that you have to increase your way of communicating, not only is From Hustle to Hired great for you, but if you wanted to go to another level and apply some tech or some hard skills to it, because you know we're all about tech, you can do it here. Next slide. So what are the action skills for skills development? So number one, you have to self-assess. You got to take time to evaluate your current skills and identify areas of improvement. Number two, we want you to resume update. We want you to update your resume with those skills so that it is new and improved. And then number three, create a 15-second pitch. Craft and practice a concise pitch that highlights your most relevant skills. And so when you're able to show up in the room, or when you show up for an interview, what's the first question that you get asked? Tell me about yourself. And when you get asked that question, we often go down this crazy rabbit hole. And the rabbit hole is talking about what we did either when we were 9 years old, right, all the way up until we turned 39 or 40, or you are giving them a small pocket of what you experienced just in that past week. But a 15-second pitch should really elevate, right, some of the skills that you have. It should elevate some of the strengths that you have. It should also elevate who you are so they can get to know you in the room. So this week is really your opportunity to focus on your personal growth, engage with activities that's going to enhance your skills, and really ensure that you're ready to leverage these strengths in your next career opportunity. So take some time and self-assess, evaluate where you are, update your resume, and then create a 15-second pitch. You know, you can ask the Coach AI to help you, or you can ask one of our coaches to help you, or you can take what you have already and kind of turn it into something that you can present and share and you can use when you show up in the room. Next slide. So I know that we're giving you guys tons of information up here, and that's the goal. But we want to start, like, how do we apply these skills that you learned, heard, and experienced? How do we identify our skill stack, and how do we use them in the workplace? And so we have these career fit scenarios. And so last week, we also did scenarios to kind of get you thinking, right? The goal is really to help you explore, like, the kind of work that aligns with the skills, the values, and personalities that you have, especially based on how you show up in real life situations. A lot of times there's some things that we are naturally able to do, and there's some things that we have to improve. Some of us are able to show up in the room and paint a picture that's gorgeous. If I did it, it's going to look like my 5-year-old niece was the one that did it, because I don't have that many artistical skills, but I am creative in different ways. And so these scenarios, each one is going to help present really a realistic challenge or situation. It's going to offer you 3 responses that you can choose from and help you present a realistic challenge or situation. And so I hope you're ready, because I am. Next slide. So the first scenario is the broken system. Your friend keeps getting stuck trying to access assess help for housing or work. They ask you what to do. What's your instinct? Do you A, jump online to look up every resource in your city? You're finding a path no matter what. You B, you offer to go with them to talk to someone in charge. You're their voice. Or C, you start brainstorming ideas on how to change the system altogether. A, B, or C. Let's see if we can get a little bit of engagement in the chat. I'm going to go with A because I'm always looking to get into the business and to find a path. So I'm going to choose A. A is going to be my my answer. Next slide. So if you answered A, a great role for you would be research, admin, case management could be of your interest. If you answered B, advocacy, social work, counseling could be on interest to you. If you answered C, policy, community strategy, nonprofit leadership could be of interest to you. I don't know how that feels for you, but that kind of feels accurate to me, right? It feels accurate. I know John BF who answered C, and yes, policy and nonprofit leadership and community strategy is all up her wheelhouse. And I am the person that's going to dig deeper. I'm going to be the case management person to make sure I take care of your needs. It's just the way it works. Next slide. Next scenario, rather. The group project, you're working with a few people to complete a community project. Half the group isn't showing up or pulling their weight. What do? Do you A, step up, reorganize the task and make sure the job gets done? Do you B, pull the team together, hold a meeting to talk it out? Or do you C, you finish your part and focus on how to not be in that group again? Which one do you choose? A, you step up, reorganize. B, you pull the team together. Or C, you finish your part? A. Yep. You pull the team together and hold a meeting, talk at your initial part. Yep. I would probably do A too. Awesome. Next slide. If you answered A, research you can go back. If you answered A, operations, logistics, project management. If you answered B, leadership, training, people management. If you answered C, you like independent roles, tech, creative, and skilled trades. Thank you everyone for B, leadership, training, and project management. Does that sound like you? If it does sound like you, just put yes in the chat really quick as we go on to the next scenario. Next scenario. The first week on the job. Does anybody look like this their first week on the job? I know I show up and I don't have a sign on my head, but I'm just like, what do we do? Because everything is brand new. You're not sure where to start. So you start a new job. They give you a checklist and a deadline, but no real training. What's your reaction? Do you A, you ask smart questions, observe quietly and figure out the system? Do you B, jump in and start doing things your way until someone corrects you? Do you C, you pause, write out a plan and ask to meet with your supervisor? A, B, or C? Let's see if we can engage in the chat. I'm going with B. I'm gonna jump in and just do things my way until somebody corrects me. Oh, next slide. B plus C, yeah. So if you answered A, self-led careers, IT, inventory, tech is you. If you answered B, entrepreneurship, field work, creative roles, yes. If you answered C, compliance, admin, strategy, some of you answered B, C, so you'd be good in entrepreneurship, field work, creative roles that may include compliance, admin, and strategy. And if you answered A and B, you appreciate a self-led career in IT, inventory, or tech, but connected to entrepreneurship, being in the field, and having a creative role. Next slide. Last scenario, I believe. The problem nobody wants. You're at work and something goes wrong. It's not your fault, but someone has to fix it. Your boss is stressed. What's your move? Do you offer to handle it and figure it out as you go? You look for the root cause and suggest a solution. You get the right people together to solve it as a team. I'm going to give a minute for everybody to put their comment in the chat. A, you offer to handle it and figure it out. Yep. And C. Yep. Yep. Next slide. If you answered A, tech, repair, trades, customer service may be ideal for you. If you answered B, quality control, data strategy, compliance. And if you answered C, HR management for facilitation and events. Next slide. So that wasn't the last scenario. I told the story. The real recognition. This is the last one. You finish a project, your work shines, but someone else gets the credit. What do you do? I love this question so much because I think we've all been in this place where we've done some work and we didn't get credited for the work that we've done. Do you A, move in silence, you know your value and keep stacking wins? Do you B, respectfully bring it up to your supervisor to advocate for yourself? Or do you C, you start documenting your contributions for the future? C. I see a C in the room. Anybody else? C? Yeah, I'm going with A. Next slide. If you answered A, behind the scene pros, tech, ops, logistics. If you answered B, client facing roles, sales, HR, public speaking. If you answered C, and John Biev, strategic roles, analyst, admin, marketing. And so it kind of makes sense. And so what these scenarios teaches us is like how we respond and how we show up in the room, like those skills that we have lean towards and are useful in certain careers. And so we often don't realize that when we are going through challenges in the workplace, when we are faced with situations and circumstances that that we have and we don't realize require solutions, the solutions that we are providing are connected to skills that a lot of organizations may be looking for. We just don't realize they're looking for them because we're not specifically applying for those jobs. Or maybe you are. We're not always going to apply for a tech job. We're not always going to apply for a job as an analyst. We're not always going to apply for a job in HR. Well, I may, right? Or in doing something else. But what we do understand is that if we are in a room, we have value that we can offer, and it's not just tied to what we do, but in the decisions that we make. So if go to the next slide. So if you did these scenarios and you answered mostly A's in your answers, you're a builder. You like to solve, execute, and get things done. This is really the best fit for tech, logistics, and repair, right? If you are answered more B's, you're a leader. And everybody's a leader, but this means that you speak up, you show up, and you bring people together, right? I saw it a couple times where you guys, some of you put in 2 letters, right? It always included that line of leadership, right? Meaning that you like to pull people together and you're okay with the public facing role. And if you answered mostly C's, you are a strategist, right? You speak up, you show up, and you bring people together also. And it's so hard to understand what we possess without being in the situation to use those skills on a day-to-day basis. Next slide. The thing about it is that no answer is better than the other or completely right. It's really about alignment, like knowing how you naturally move helps you find work that really doesn't drain you, right? It's going to drive you. It's going to help set you up in a way that you aren't overwhelmed, in a way that you are proud of, in a way that you appreciate. When we are able to do those things that really aren't a heavy lift. You ever heard the saying that, you know, if you do something that you're passionate about, it doesn't feel like work? I mean, it is true. And when we're able to use skills that we naturally possess in workplaces, we don't realize that it doesn't become a heavy lift. It just becomes another lift for us that we use, a lift that we can really apply on a day-to-day basis. Next slide. And so this week, you know, for our Hustle Smarter conversation on translating your skills, really using the language to put it in a resume, building on that skill stack, those work skills, social skills, and life skills that you can use, being able to communicate that with clarity, right, with that conviction, and then a 15-second pitch about yourself. So when they ask you to tell us about yourself, you're able to do that. Being able to understand how to make decisions using those skills in different scenarios and how you can show up in the room, and knowing that, you know, some of your skills help lean towards more builder or leader or strategist, can help you really think tank through some of the jobs that you apply for or some of the skills that you have that you can translate. But this hustle lesson of the week is this: Your hustle really has equipped you with essential leadership skills, and that's paved the way for your future success. Three things I want you to leave here with this week. I want you to leave with more confidence, right? Believing in your abilities is going to help foster a strong foundation for effective leadership. Really knowing who you are. If you went through those scenarios and you answered those questions, right, you should be proud of the answers that you provided, and knowing that they're connected to an experience that you had that led you to the place that you were able to answer those decisions. I want you to leave here understanding that you can communicate in a way that's thoughtful and intentional and that's powerful and impactful in the room. Don't be afraid to express yourself clearly. It enhances your impact and the leader in any situation. A lot of times you don't realize your voice is needed in the room. And so I hope that this week, when you're looking at what you have and who you aren't afraid to say what you mean. And then number three, be able to problem solve. We've been doing it most of our lives. When we're able to adapt and find solutions, it becomes a vital skill in today's dynamic workplace. So it doesn't matter what role you're in, whether you're going for customer service, you're going to work front of the house in a restaurant, back of the house, you're working retail, you're working in the office in some kind of admin role, you're in the tech space, whatever role that you're in, right? Don't be afraid to problem solve. I don't see many job ads that says we're looking for a problem solver, but all jobs, they're looking for someone to show up and be the solution for what they need. And the lesson this week is not just confidence, not just communication, but being able to carefully help organizations problem solve. It makes you an asset. Next slide. So what can you do to kind of focus on a weekly win? We want you to focus on one skill and sharpen it, right? What's that one skill that you can pull on and that you can use and that you can sharpen? I'm going to test the chat again. What's one skill that you can use and sharpen this week or next week before we meet again? It can be a soft skill like communication, conflict, or adaptability, but it's something that you want to improve, right? And so what skill is it that you can sharpen? For me, I'm going to go ahead and go first. I'm going to put communication. Yeah. Like, like I'm going to put communication. I think responsiveness and proactiveness. That's good. Yeah. So like thinking about that, it's going to help you begin to cultivate all the skills that you have. Like, how can I communicate more effectively? How can I be more of a solutionist? How can I adapt in the room when it doesn't feel 100% right? Right? It can be iffy. I see responsiveness and proactive and receiving correction. I would love if I could hear your voice today to talk more about that, but receiving correction is hard. So how does that show up for you? Is that feedback that you want to be able to accept feedback more, or you want to be able to respond to the feedback that you've been given better? Yeah, because it comes to that feedback culture. A lot of times when we are being corrected, we're listening to not just what they say, but we shut down after the first thing that they say. And that goes back to understanding communication, not just listening to their words, but their body language as well, and being able to kind of translate what the full story is. And so based on the skill that you want to sharpen this week, I would want to encourage you to try one of these challenges. Number one, use an I statement when giving feedback, right? And so like, okay, let me see. Responding to feedback without wearing my feelings on my sleeve. Yeah, that's hard. And it goes back to emotional intelligence. Like, how can we show up and not personalize what someone is saying about us, because we're confident in who we are and what we do. And that confidence has helped lead us into this different thought process of the value that we bring to the table. And so if you want to learn how to respond to feedback without wearing your feelings on the sleeve, like how do you show up, and what can you do in the process while you're receiving that feedback so that you're not reacting in the same way? Last week we talked about like coming up with mantras in our our professional commandments. And so what does that look like for you? What's a professional commandment that you can come up with? Like, I will think of the great things I've done when I know I'm receiving feedback that doesn't make me feel good. Or I'll take the feedback that I'm receiving that may not make me feel good and I'll apply it, but I won't personalize it, right? And what I mean by that, like, you apply it because you take it as a learning lesson, but you don't personalize it because it doesn't decrease your value of who you are and what you bring to the table. And so when trying to sharpen these skills this week, whether it's responsiveness and proactiveness and or receiving correction, use an I statement when giving feedback. I understand what you're saying. I just want to make sure I heard it correctly. I appreciate the feedback. Right. So using an I statement when you are giving feedback. So when they're speaking to you and you're receiving correction, don't be afraid to respond with an I statement. Number two, stay calm in a high stress moment. Right. So like, don't pop off. It's the only way I can give it to you, right? Because it's easy to do sometimes when you're in a room and people are speaking to you in a tone or in a way that's not a professional way, right? And it's because a lot of times some people don't understand how to communicate effectively. And when they don't, it can come off, differently, especially if you're on the receiving end. Number three, ask for feedback from someone you trust, right? And so if you want to know about these skills that you're sharpening, ask somebody that you trust that has your best interests in mind, and you can trust that feedback is being honest. And number four, listen twice before responding once. This is a big one for me, right? Listen twice before responding once, because a lot of times we respond just to respond, right? We're not listening to what the person is saying, but we're responding because we have to get our feedback in, because number one, they said something we didn't appreciate. And number two, they said something that was wrong and we want to prove it to them that they're wrong. And number three, we don't care what they said. We got to let them know they can't speak to us that way. And so, when we think about listening twice before responding once, it's just saying, take your time before you open your mouth. I want you to reflect, how did it feel to lead? I want you to reflect this week how it felt to lead with the skill that you are sharpening, and what changed when you used it intentionally. Next slide. So we have this tool for you to use as we get ready to come to a close on this week's lesson. Is we have a Coach AI on Talent Nova on our website, and we want you to use the Coach Talent Nova. If you are watching this on your phone or on a laptop, we want you to screenshot this. How can you use these questions that are designed to help trigger personalized coaching support, reflections, or resume-ready outputs using your lived experience? Everything from how do I explain this, the skills I gained from real life experience in a resume, to can you help me come up with 3 bullet points for my resume based on what I've done? And so we want you to go to our website at Talent Nova on our platform, and we want you to use some of these questions to engage with Coach AI. This is going to help you add skills to your resume. This is going to help you build your 15 seconds pitch. This is going to help you identify industries or careers that you can look at. If you have a resume in the system, you should be getting some career matches already. If you're not, you will soon. It'll also help you understand which one of your skills are transferable to a new career. And so when we did the scenarios, it may have popped up that there's a career industry that you didn't think that skill would be valuable in. And so that is really an aha moment. When I went into HR, it wasn't because I was interested in human resource. It was because I was really good at people. And because I was really good in understanding people, it was a skill that I was able to translate into that role. And as individuals with lived experience, we have all these skills that we cultivate growing up on the block all the way to, when we get to the boardroom, or coming from prison and to getting into, back into population, that we forget about those skills that we learned. And I didn't forget about, having to cook in the mess hall for 1,000 people in Albion Correction Facility. I didn't forget about cleaning the yard. I didn't forget about stacking the library books. And all those things are skills that we can use to apply in the real world of work. Next slide. So I want to congratulate you for completing this week, right? You are at the halfway mark of our modern workforce training. This is the first time that we're doing anything like this, and we're piloting it. We got this done and we jumped right in and presented it. We didn't spend a whole lot of time promoting it and trying to reach out to tons of people. We just wanted to offer it to, anyone who wanted to join, because we want you to get the information we have. We're going to ask you for your feedback, but we also want individuals with records to know that Talent Nova is here as a resource, not just for your tools, but for all the things that you need to get you back to work. Next slide. Thank you. Really excited again to have you guys here again this week. And just want to thank you for the gift of your time. As always, we want you to feel comfortable and confident in reaching out to us at talentnova.com. You can follow us on our Instagram or even our LinkedIn. We want to hear from you. We like to hear, what you've thought so far on the modern workforce training. Is there anyone you think could benefit by the next go around? Is there anything that you want to see? I like to end with just everybody giving one word, just understanding that you can hustle smarter by understanding your skills. You can hustle smarter by identifying things that you may not have believed is useful. You can hustle smarter by using your skills to your advantage. I just want to invite everybody to put one comment in the chat area of something that you believe that you learned this week before we go and before I close out. Let's see. Thank you. Great session. Thank you. That's right. Yeah, emotional intelligence. Yeah, that's also a big one. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining us again. And so, yeah, so just in closing, like if you've taken nothing else from today, like other than what you put in the chat, well, remember this, you already have what it takes, right? Every skill, every setback, every experience has prepared you for this moment that you're in to move from hustling harder to really hustling smarter. Your skills are your advantage, but your mindset is your multiplier. So keep learning, keep leveling up, and keep showing up as the best version of you, even when no one's watching you. At Talent Nova, we really believe that your story, your skills, and the strategy that you use can unlock doors that titles and resumes alone never will. So as you step forward, don't shrink your shine, don't second guess your growth, and don't wait for perfect. Just start moving with purpose. You are the advantage, you are the opportunity, and you are the one someone's been waiting to hire, collaborate with, or believe in. So we hope that you join us again next week so that we can keep building, we can keep connecting, and keep transforming hustle into something sustainable, something strategic and successful, because your skills matter and your story deserves to be seen. I'm KO as always. Thank you for the gift of your time. Have an incredible weekend. See you guys soon. Bye.